Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm very excited, Niall, because this week we once again have, I think this actually might be a returning sponsor, but there's a twist.
Yeah, we got the new flavor hit, because I believe we were sponsored by a previous specialty flavor of this.
Yeah, so we Dr. Pepper came crawling back to us.
Yeah,
okay.
We boosted their sales by a solid 10% last time we mentioned them on podcast.
Which, when you're talking about millions of dollars in Dr. Pepper money, 10%'s nothing to sneeze at. You know, it's they came crawling back. They said, please fucking take us back. We need it on your fucking niche ass show about Bigfoots and UFOs. And we said, I don't know. And then I did the universal symbol for make it worth my time. And I took my thumb and my index finger and my middle finger and I rubbed them together like this in front of their faces. And that guy, he crumbled. He crumbled. Now, I will say what hasn't been totally in our favor is that we have to feature this Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream Jurassic World Rebirth only in theaters edition. And the problem,
is that a dino on the back there, or is that a human?
No, it's let's see. It's a Spinosaurus.
Okay.
I got to be honest with you. When Dr. Pepper, when the good doctor himself reached out to me about this, I didn't know there was a new Jurassic Park movie.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I had no idea. I had somehow missed out on that. There's a nicer world where I never find out, but this is how I find out. And, well, go ahead.
Well, I found out about, like, I heard about it a little while ago, but then I saw a trailer for it when I went to go see the new Mission Impossible film, which I'll probably talk about on an upcoming Patreon episode, because that's just what we do now.
I have a movie to talk about on that as well. So,
I went to go see Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and a trailer for this one. So I guess ScarJo is taking over the franchise. So the franchise has been handed from Chris Pratt.
I didn't know she was involved.
Which is for me an upgrade. Like,
sure.
I'm not like, I don't love everything Scarlett Johansson does. She's had some fucking bad movies and whatever, but I like her more than Chris Pratt. So while I still will probably not go see this movie, they're slowly trying to work their way into my direction.
I'm going to need you to edit that last part out, because we need everybody to go see this movie, because right now the only way that you can get Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream Jurassic World Rebirth only in theaters edition, they give out 1 can per screening of Jurassic World Rebirth only in theaters. It's the only way to get it. And they said to me, when I talked to the good doctor, I said, hey, how do we want to do this on our audio podcast? And they said, you should lift up the Dr. Pepper, show it to Niall in the webcam. They said, you're going to need to do a couple, like a dozen takes, like a full case. Okay. And they only give out 1 per showing. So I've seen this movie about 12 times. Checking my notes. I loved it. Yeah. And I love the sweet taste of Dr. Pepper, which I'm currently holding up to the camera for Niall to see.
It's true. So is 1 can enough to get you through that film? Do you need like a second bevy?
I'm sort of in talks with the Pepper family to sort of expand the promotion a little bit, because this is a 2-canner minimum, I think.
Hey, what about can I pitch an idea to them? Maybe they're not locked in on this yet.
Yeah.
Tall Boys.
Tall Boys. Have they ever tried making Tall Boys of soda?
Yeah, they exist. You can get them at gas stations, but I've never seen it for like the off, like only like the base sodas get them as far as I've seen. I have yet to
That's
see a
fucked
tall
up.
boy of like a Mountain Dew Code Red.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Jurassic World Rebirth, only in theaters. That gets 5 bags of popcorn and 3 tall boys of Dr. Pepper, strawberries and cream. That's my review. Go and check it out and get your can today.
What's like a really tall dinosaur?
I was gonna edit that burp out, but that one was for comedic effect. What's a really tall dinosaur? What's the one with the long neck?
That
one's pretty tall.
Brontosaurus, is that the one that's still one of them?
Yeah.
There were 2 of them when I was a kid, and then we found out one was fucked up and not like real. And
right.
I always forget which one it was. So I think it's Brontosaurus that still exists.
That's funny. Speaking of brontosauruses, which is a type of animal. So talking about animals, sorry, I was trying to work a transition here for you, because if you don't mind, I actually have an email for you. Is that okay if I jump into that directly from
keep
the
it
Dr.
in the
Pepper
fucking
sponsorship?
Keep it in the world of animals, and we might be able to like make a through line here. So
okay, this, by the way, I think is the first time an email has been addressed to the entire, the larger weird family, as I call it. It says, howdy, Kyle, Niall, Jules, Garrett, and even Colin.
Oh,
I might have to let them know that Colin got a shout out.
The whole fam damly.
The whole fam damly's here. This is from Jacob. Jacob says, while listening to your Australian Ghost Antics episode and just hearing Australia, had my memory teleported back to a movie I hadn't seen since before 2020. It was a movie I viewed in MA at, what's MA again? Which
Massachusetts.
Is that Massachusetts? Okay.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts at Luna Theater for its very awesome Weirdo Wednesdays. A free old movie viewing and craft beer, hell yeah. They no longer have free movies, though. Actually, side note, one of the cool things about the theater that we live nearby is they do have free screenings. And the last one was Starship Troopers. So they put out cool stuff for free. Anyways. They go on to say, I think they shut down Womp Womp. Anyway, the scene unfolds where 2 seemingly backwoods types kill a kangaroo, cutting out its adrenaline gland, ingesting it, and becoming high/energetic. I could picture the scene almost second for second in my mind. This, of course, led me down a rabbit hole, or you could say it led me down under. I uncovered the movie in question called Body Melt, made in 1993 about a town in Australia being experimented on by use of a body drug. This in tune does exactly what the title of the movie states. From what I remember, the movie was super cool, a bit campy, but overall I recommend it. Then, however, another question popped in my head, which was, does eating kangaroo adrenaline glands act as speed when ingested? The short answer is no, but then this led me to another question. What part of an animal, when ingested, would give you adrenaline effects or something similar? Eating the meat of a we're going down a weird path here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to go along for the ride with this email, because I was not expecting to end up on like what meat should you eat for fucking body effects at the beginning of this thing. All right.
Eating the meat of a stressed animal can indeed affect the taste and texture, from what Bing has told me, which is weird because you'd think then that all meat comes from a stressed animal, especially ones from slaughterhouses who can probably smell death in the air. Then that led me to my last question. I have often noticed a pattern after eating a bunch of meat prior to sleeping that I've had nightmares. Due to the stressed animal releasing adrenaline/cortisol into its muscles prior to death, can eating the meat of a stressed animal attribute to having nightmares? Bing told me there wasn't any scientific evidence to back this up. So this is where my tunneling hit the bedrock for now anyway. I swear I'm not advocating for being vegetarian or vegan or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that either. There's a shout out to Seinfeld here. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay, I get it. I love food, all kinds. It was just a weird research hole I fell into. Anyway, my apologies for the long rant or /email. I love your podcast and would love to grab a beer with you guys if you're ever in Massachusetts to talk about aliens. Thanks for the great content. God, if only. Hopefully. So thanks for all you do, Jacob. And Jacob actually gave us a big question, and depending on how this episode goes, maybe we'll bust it out.
There's a chance we can make it fit with the episode.
Well, this is a very interesting email, and a very interesting thought process that I'm enjoying.
I don't really know what, like, there aren't a lot of action items other than, I mean, thank you, Jacob. That was a very interesting rabbit hole to go down and to hear about. I'm just like, what is like the worst fucking animal conditions to eat? Like what is going to make you go fucking lunatic?
You know, I don't know. As far as connecting bad dreams or nightmares to eating meat of a more stressed out animal, I don't know about that. I would definitely double back on does a stressed out animal's meat affect anything? You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, it probably doesn't have actual science, but
here's
whatever.
my question for you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Were you having these thoughts before, around the time that you ate the meat, and then maybe that psychological stressor developed into a nightmare that night? That's my question for you.
Yeah.
Maybe think about that angle. Maybe.
See,
but
I'm thinking, I'm just thinking about the times that I've eaten a big bag of beef jerky and gotten really sad and thinking like maybe the animals went through a loss as they were dying, you know?
I don't think
there's kind of a sadness thing going on.
I don't know if I've ever eaten a big bag of beef jerky and felt sad about it. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just sad because there's no more jerky.
Yeah, exactly. By the time I finish a bag of tasty jerky, I'm just sad that there's none left, for sure. But I mean, like, look, we talk with people on here we've gotten emails suggesting, you know, is an emotion or a feeling embedded into a thing? Does that carry on even if this is the, you know, whole one of the big ideas surrounding ghosts?
Yeah.
Does an animal, if an animal has a particularly stressed out day, will its meat impart that stress? Will it hold on to that? Should we start giving animals therapy and massages before we kill them for food? And those are the questions.
I think that's a growth industry. I'm going to get into animal therapy and have the most depressing job of all time.
Well, thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you.
Did this give you a smooth onboarding for your topic this week, or what?
I mean, look, stressed animals, I feel like is a pretty a decent jumping off point to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Because however, I'm not going down under. We're going above the border.
Sure.
We're going to go to Canada. Because I found a couple Canadian aquatic cryptids that I wanted to talk about, including one that is like a somewhat, they're related-ish. But one of them, the second one is actually like a decently like big name one that we haven't really covered yet. So today we're going to talk about some cryptids up in Canada.
I feel like not too long ago we had the episode about swamp monster type creatures, and like Mounties got involved with these kids who saw the creature from the Black Lagoon. The name's not coming to me, but this was maybe this year.
Yeah, that was episode. I had to go double check to make sure that nothing was cross contaminating between that, because that's episode 443 for anyone who's curious.
Okay.
It's about the Thetis Lake monster.
There it is.
Another one. Today we're going to talk about a couple more. I guess like Nessie-like cryptids. You know, we're in that kind of realm here. We're going one of them is. The other one is somewhat debatable if it's exactly that or not. We'll talk about that. That's the first one we're going to talk about. So Kyle, I'll stop beating around the bush and just ask you point blank. Have you ever heard of Ponik?
Is this like a like Sonic the Hedgehog original character Deviantart Do Not Steal type situation?
Yeah, it's Purple Sonic.
I know there's Purple Sonic, Ponik, Chronic the Hedgehog is the green one, I think. I mean, everybody knows Shadow.
Yeah.
But then I think there's Manic the Hedgehog, who might also be green. I think now that I'm saying it out loud that Chronic the Hemp Hog is not canon.
I
to the
don't think
Sonic
that
universe.
Sega has fully acknowledged Chronic's existence
No,
yet.
but Manic is. Manic is
Yes.
real. I do remember. I don't know if I've brought this up on the show, but when I was a kid, I read the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, and this is like peak period of oh my god, what's his name? I think Ken Penders. Do you know about this, Niall? Being a comics reader.
I think we've talked about this before. I came to the realization at one point that the Sonic comics I read as a kid, weirdly enough, were like a lot of them were written by Dan Slott.
Oh yeah.
Of Spider-Man fame. So I don't know. I don't know.
Tell you what.
Ken Penders is a name I know.
Tell you what. We could do a whole episode on Ken Penders. Let me do this. Let's talk about Ken Penders on A World of Weird.
Okay.
Real soon, because I can't talk about it. It's too much to talk about right now. We could spend an hour discussing it. So let's just say this. If you want to hear me explain the Ken Penders situation to Niall, that's going to be on an upcoming World of Weird on our Patreon. So check it out.
You got that to look forward to.
It is weird, just not weird in a way that we would typically, it's not quite
in the It Gets Weird purview.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ponik, Ponik.
Ponik. So not a song.
No, not quite. It's okay. So you know how Nessie is a derivation
Whale's
of Loch Ness.
Oh, yes. You've heard the whale's penis thing, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, all right.
And hey, maybe a whale's penis could take care of these two as well. But there actually are there are some explanations for these, but we'll get into that later. Much like Nessie is a name derived from Loch Ness. Ponik is a name derived from this Québécois lake that is located along the border of Quebec and Maine, and it's called the Pohenagamook Lake, which we'll from here on out be referring
Ponik's a
to
little
by its
easier.
Americanized name, Mocking Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mocking. Any idea where does that come from?
I believe something about the name Pohenagamook translates to Mocking Lake.
It wasn't a bunch of like Americans on the border shouting to the Québécois Canadians, and the Québécois were perfectly pronouncing the name of this place, and all the Americans were just like, they're mocking us. Might as well call the lake that.
No, not quite. Although that would be a much more fun derivation. That would be it would be very funny to be like, oh, this is the lake where like a bunch of Americans mocked us. So we're like, you got to put up a plaque that's like, here stood 5 unruly Americans shouting obscenities at our countrymen. But no, in this case, it's just that is the supposed name of the lake when you translate it.
Okay.
So this creature has been around in large part since about 1874. However, it did not get named until much later, approximately 1974, when the kind of so for like a long time, this thing was basically just known as like the creature of Lake Pohenagamook, or Mocking Lake, until eventually they decided to, I think, riffing on the kind of idea of Nessie, to like naming it after the lake, came up with Ponik. So Ponik was dubbed in 1974, and in large part it is described as approximately 36 feet in length, with a long triple-humped serpent-like body with 2 large flippers and a head that resembles that of a horse. There are certain accounts that will talk about it as having whiskers, which is also tied to how in some accounts this thing is like covered in like fur or it, which is tied into a thing that differentiates it from Nessie a bit, because largely the type of creature that Nessie is believed to be by cryptozoologists is that of a water horse or something like that, a typical lake monster. Whereas this one in reality is more describable as like a water panther. They describe it
Yeah. Okay.
as kind of this like sleek fur, more kind of mammalian in features. I
Yeah,
guess.
you know, I hear triple humped head of a horse, whiskers and fur. I mean, that's just it feels like something that you would see in like on a 16th century map. Like in this area of the ocean, don't go here because the sea monster that has 3 humps will eat your ship. I don't know. Triple humped. That's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
so that would kind of maybe that would not point you towards plesiosaur like Nessie. Like Nessie has the whole, oh, could a dinosaur live to modern day thing surrounding it? I don't know. Is there anything in nature in the ocean that's known for being triple humped like that? Like
A lot of people will cite this as being possibly an abnormally large catfish, which doesn't give you the hump thing. The humps are something that have varied over time a little bit in terms of how iconic they are. You know, like not every sighting involves that. This is kind of aggregate. The description is aggregated from a bunch of different sightings, trying to like come up with the kind of like I always like seeing how people try to like do, you know, the line of mean or whatever they call it, where it's like the aggregate line that goes between everything of like what is the baseline version of this cryptid if we like throw out all of the aberrant things, like even the fur is somewhat of an occasional thing. It's not always talked about as having that kind of coat.
Well, and you kind of have to deal with that exact thing with cryptids, just given the nature of cryptids being something that is typically half seen or partially seen or seen moving so quickly you don't get the details. So, you know, how else can you describe the thing except an aggregate? You know?
Yeah. So the monster has yet to actually, of course, be caught, or really there are some supposed photographs of it that you can try to find out there. But it's rumored to hide in a series of underground caverns that are located at near the point of the lake, near where it comes up to Bukani River. This cavern was said to travel underneath nearby mountains to create a large kind of underground system where this thing spends a lot of its time and retreats to go and be at peace. So basically that's why when they've tried to search this lake and stuff, they aren't finding it all. They don't necessarily find a 36-foot long, sleek fucking monster. So they believe that it's tied to this series
of really
underground caves.
Big, long river otter with like a couple humps. You know, it kind of pisses me off that nobody's out. I feel like nobody's out there doing, you know, surgeons photos anymore. Like, who's out there trying to fake the existence of Nessie these days? Like, and UFO footage, anytime I see that kind of thing posted online, it's either nothing. It's like somebody saw a blimp, or it's just the most fake AI crap or like computer graphics. You know, I feel like there isn't somebody out there who's like, okay, I'm going to be a gynecologist and I'm going to go and like set up like a toy in the lake and try and get a good angle with a silhouette and prove to people that there's a lake monster in here. That being said, Niall, have you had people like reaching out to you like me to show me that there's new Bigfoot footage? Have you seen this?
I have seen this. Yes, it has crossed my purview. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I know it exists.
Anytime something like that happens, if it breaches the mainstream audiences like that, I will inevitably get a message from a family member or a friend and just be like, yo, new Bigfoot footage just dropped. It's very exciting.
I got so many the like Tic Tac footage of UFOs. I got that sent so many different ways, but always like 4 months after it actually dropped. The stuff tends to permeate the public consciousness slowly. So like a lot of times I'll get a thing that like I read about like 3 months ago
Yeah.
that gets sent to me by family members, and it's like,
yeah.
thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks for looking out for me.
I always appreciate it. But I have also been sent the 2017 To the Stars Academy Tic Tac footage 5 billion times at this point.
Yep.
Usually attached with the question, "You're the expert. What are UFOs real?"
Yeah.
And I always have to be like, 1, not an expert. 2, that's a complicated question.
Yeah, how much time do you have, and what level of detail do you want to go into?
Now,
'Cause
Bigfoot, whenever they send me new footage of a cryptid, I just tell them that is real 100%. I always give them the confirmation.
Well,
go check it out.
I'm very glad that you brought this up, because for the second creature I'm covering tonight, there was a... How much do I want to spoil this? There is an event... There's an event from 2015 for the second creature we're talking about tonight, where someone did create photos of a creature.
Excellent.
And it was found out pretty quickly what happened. But it's so I can say someone has done it at least as recently as 2015.
I just think somebody who is like deep hobbyist level at visual effects doesn't have to be their profession, just very invested in, I'm going to create the most authentic looking fake Jersey Devil footage of all time. Like, I'm going to put my whole ass into it.
Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, just, I don't know how you would do it. I just want to see a little more effort. Don't let the fact that the internet is overrun with fake crap videos dissuade you. I want to see more gnomes in Argentina. Also,
don't fucking use AI.
Yeah, preferably generative AI would not be involved in this process, because I still think that doesn't pass the sniff test really either. Still,
no. Oh my god, there's people that are doing. There's some place that's making like AI generated videos of Bible stories, and it's like that is actually sacrilege. Like,
that's awesome.
I think it's so funny where it's like people who love Christianity who have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, being like, oh, this is so great, and it's like, no, that is actually something that you are not supposed to do.
I gotta be honest, I think this is one of the very few good uses of generative AI I've heard of so far. We should definitely keep doing that specific thing.
I saw David. There was a David and Goliath one that was going around, and it looks so weird. It does not look good.
Excellent.
Anyway, so
the future's bright. Sorry.
Future, yeah. Look. Everyone, wear your shades. Ponik sightings were pretty rare until approximately 1957, which this is a thing that I'm picking up a lot of in cryptid stuff lately. I keep coming across these accounts where like something like this happens in a lot of cryptid stories, and sightings become a lot more common. Because in 1957, construction crews used dynamite to create Highway 289, which runs along the lake shore. Whenever you start getting construction crews making a road or train or like any sort of public transit system of some kind, which a road isn't technically public transit system, but you get what I mean, that brings people passing by the lake far more often, cryptid sightings skyrocket as soon as people start to like drive past a lake. And I think that's a very interesting you would think modernization would make cryptid sightings less common, but a lot of times it leads to more people seeing weird shit as they're passing by.
The more people able to pass by, the more likely you are to have somebody see something. It does make sense, but it is funny that the progress kind of brings about more folklore tales like that.
Yeah, and it got to the point where even supposedly local officials had to issue special licenses to allow people to hunt and trap the creature, and the local press started to offer up to $100 reward to capture or get a photograph of Ponik.
What year would that have been?
So this is starting after 1957. So in the like couple years after that, it got more and more popular as the people started to drive past
But
it.
sightings trace all the way back to the 50s.
So sightings there are a couple sightings all the way back to 1874. But sightings started to pick up once construction of Highway 289 started in 1957. And then that's when you start to get these licenses and a bounty for photographs or captured stuff about Ponik.
I feel like there is a bit of a, I don't know whether I like this word that much, but a bit of a trope in media depicting things like cryptids and monsters and whatnot of old bombed out tunnels and mines and things like that. And that's where these creatures live. And if they're disturbed, they come back out. And, you know, I'm thinking Scooby-Doo, Gravity Falls, whatever.
Yep.
So I see your point about once these places are, you know, they use TNT to make this place more passable by humans. Do you think that maybe the association of blowing up places, because this is how we used to build roads and mines and things like that, do you think that association as a media trope surrounding monsters and cryptids maybe came about because of that, even though people weren't going like, oh, it's because people are traveling here more often? They're like, no, we're disturbing the mine shaft they live in, or the cave or whatever that we blew up. You know, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do think that like you can take that trope and broaden it to like, oh, the animals are fighting back because the logging
habitat
companies are coming in and ruining their habitat.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the march of progress there is always kind of butting up against nature. And like, so this is, I don't know exactly where that, like what the origin of that kind of trope comes from, but it does seem to, you don't have to be talking about real animals for that trope to qualify. Like it can be about cryptids as well, where like, cause like, Mothman came from the, you know, it's at the crossover between a wildlife sanctuary and a chemical plant.
Right.
And when those two things cross over, you create Mothman.
Creating our monsters. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's yeah.
A good portion of cryptids, especially from this time period, they're the fucking smoke monster from Ferngully.
Oh,
if people
Jesus.
remember that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Tim Curry plays a smoke. I saw a video where there's like a cut version of the song that he sings that I don't remember what it's called, but did you ever see Ferngully as a kid?
Probably, I don't have a distinct memory.
The smoke. Tim Curry is a big smoke monster man that's created by man's pollution in the forest or whatever. And
okay,
he sings a song about how much he loves pollution, basically.
Yeah,
but I can't remember when I saw this, but there's like an unedited version of the Ferngully smoke monster song that's like, I don't know, 10 times hornier than the original or than the one that's in the movie. So if people go onto YouTube or something like that, look up, you know, Tim Curry Ferngully horny song. You'll find it. It's kind of weird. It's
safe search off.
I don't think you can have safe search on YouTube. I'm always browsing naked on there. Anyways, check that out.
All right. So that's the kind of arc of this thing is from like kind of folkloric background to eventual press darling, I guess. So there are there's a couple, just like a couple weird aberrant things about it from different sightings. There's a photograph by a guy named Eberhardt, who I have a little more on him in a minute, that shows the creature as having, quote, golden horns and has tracks that are hoof prints, like round hoof prints, to the point where people started to think that maybe some sightings of this thing were a swimming moose.
Okay.
Yeah, because moose are way bigger than you want to give them credit for. Like,
they're huge.
Like if you haven't seen one recently, they're bigger than you remember.
No, I'll never forget the first time I saw one. I was at a lake with my family, and my sister and I were out like canoeing around this lake, and we turn a corner into like a river area, and it kind of fed into this river, and we just saw a moose, and it was so fucking big. And in the instant that I saw it, I thought, oh, if this thing wanted to, it could kill me with ease.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're really big. So a moose does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So just for a quick rundown on a couple sightings here. The earliest known sighting is in 1873 when a lumberjack named Louis Berube, I don't know exactly, saw what he deemed a huge fish in the lake. And then another, I'm guessing, lumberjack named Benoit Lavoisier saw a 25 to 30 foot long creature poking out of the water and then diving back under. And then in 1957, Father Leopold Plant, so we now have members of the clergy seeing this thing. But however, he said that it was a black thing with two humps that appeared and then dove back underneath the lake. Now, this is the most recent thing. So I forgot that it was for this cryptid, not the other one. In 2015, there were this article was from May 25th of 2015. And there's a local newspaper known as the Journal that reported a sighting of the cryptid. And they talked to the people that like run the stuff around the lake. There's the general director of this lake. I'm assuming it's the people who do upkeep on the lake. I'm assuming they don't own the lake, you know? Marie Claude Pinel was quoted as saying, "One thing is certain, this is not a story invented by the municipality. It was 6:08 a.m. when I took the picture, and I think it was a big fish. I can't say what species." So what's funny is they can say that this story was not invented by the municipality. What I found out very quickly was it was.
Oh, okay.
This thing that in the original article was like the only thing they said, no, it wasn't that. That's what it was. They protested just a little too much. It was all like a tourist generating thing to like buy people who worked for the town, the local government, to try to bring up interest in coming to this lake in Quebec.
Look, I understand that. What better way to drive tourism than a cool beastie in your area? I get it.
Yeah. So I just thought it was really funny that like the first article I found about this sighting in 2015, the first quote in it was, "It definitely isn't created by the municipality." And then the second article I clicked on was
what was
like,
do you happen to know the timeline of how quickly it was revealed that it was not real and that they were just making it up?
So the article I found that revealed it was May 28th. So that was 3 days after the first article that I saw. So it was pretty quick.
That's almost as disappointing as Balloon Boy.
Yeah,
but nothing will quite hit the levels of Balloon Boy.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video where Balloon Boy, the mom and dad are like, the reporter's like, "Oh, why didn't you come out of the attic when you were called?" And then the kid looks at his mom and he goes, "You said we did it for the show." And then the mom goes, "Yeah." And then she rips a big fart. It's a really good video. For those of you who weren't around can you believe that there's people who were born and are alive after the Balloon Boy saga? That's fucked.
People should have stopped.
There are kids who don't know who Balloon Boy is.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you don't know who Balloon Boy is, he was a boy that went and flew off in a balloon. And then it turns out it was a big hoax, and the parents did it for the show. And I think that one of the kids puked during an interview, and the mom did fart during one of the interviews. And it's really fun. Great time. I have to assume she was just very nervous and just kind of let one squeak on out.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's what it's like when you're hoaxing a lake monster cryptid.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, no one farted upon uncovering this ruse, but I can't say for sure because I didn't I didn't find video footage of them like, ripping
Sure.
the Scooby-Doo mask off of the person who did the Photoshop job or whatever. So
Sure.
maybe there is some flatulence involved there.
Should have been. If not.
So do you want to talk about the second creature I wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
Ponik is interesting because everyone is like, it's not Nessie. But the sightings aren't that robust. Whereas now we're going to talk about Ogopogo.
Now that's a name I know.
Yeah, Ogopogo is one of the stars of the show. A real bona fide cryptid legend. I saw places saying at one point it was like one of the more researched and well-known aquatic cryptids, but that was not sourced anywhere. It was just like at one point this was one of the big ones.
That's
and
one of
now
those
it's a little less so.
It's one of those claims that gets thrown around this stuff just very regularly. Lots of different things claim that title.
Yeah. So this one, Ogopogo, lives in Lake Okanagan in British Columbia, Canada. So this one, however, Ogopogo is not a derivation of the lake name as much.
Right.
It comes from a little bit of a different thing. So Ogopogo is another lake monster with which usually is seen as just a series of kind of humps moving across the surface of Canada's Lake Okanagan. And this one is your archetypical giant lake serpent. The name Ogopogo was given to the creature in 1926. And it comes from it's a palindrome, which comes from the name of an English humor song called the Ogopogo, that then a former secretary of the Board of Trade in the town of Vernon, which is nearby Okanagan Lake, wrote a parody that adapted this song Ogopogo to be about the creature that lived in the lake nearby. And so it was performed by a singer named William H. Brimblecombe. And that was where the name Ogopogo came from. So it was taken from a song, and it does not actually come from the name of the lake.
And then,
unlike a lot of the other ones,
Serge Tankian in System of a Down covered that song. Niall, you maybe don't know, but he has a song where he's going Ogopogo, bounce.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think he must have gotten inspiration from this story, this creature.
Right.
That'll be funny. And anybody out there is a System of a Down fan.
All I know is, I think I've told the story before on the podcast, maybe, but Serge Tankian's solo album is something that literally caused my brother and I to pull over to the side of the road because we were laughing so hard. It's one of the few things I really bond with my brother about is how much neither of us likes Serge Tankian.
That's fair.
It's weird. I just, for some reason, it bounces off of me so entirely.
Well,
I don't know.
You would love just how much the song of Serge Tankian, Pogo bounces off your brain, because I'm going to show it to you later so that you know what I'm talking about.
Fantastic.
I completely lost my train of thought, but yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, nope, gone again. Well, you know what? We'll try again later.
Yeah, look, it'll come back. We'll work our way back around. So the main story of Ogopogo starts in 1926, when supposedly 30 full cars full of people were on the shore of Lake Okanagan, and they saw a huge series of serpentine bumps that rose and fell through the lake waters that were calm at the time, leaving a large wake behind them. All of the witnesses agreed. I guess maybe they all got together and like talked about it. I don't know. But the story goes that all the witnesses agreed that the humps must belong to the lake's resident monster, which would later be named Ogopogo. And people, because it was so many people, it is referred to as one of the, quote, more credible monster sightings ever documented. How far you want to take that is entirely up to you.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Okay.
You reminded me of the time that I saw the video of the guy from Disturbed, I want to say, doing the
Sure.
Sound of Silence.
Oh yeah, they have a
Hey.
cover of that song. It's real bad.
It's maybe one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire... I try to reserve the being a hater thing for the World of Weird, where I know people who pay money to the show can sort of, they can take it when I'm being a hater. I'm sorry, I can't hold this one in. That's some of the worst shit I've ever heard. It's fucking heinous. So that's all I was going to bring up.
Yeah. All right.
So it sounds like what we need to do is we should maybe get that guy and Serge Tankian together for a duet album to make the most psychically damaging album of all time to you specifically. I happen to like System of a Down. Never listened to the solo album, but I can understand not being into his shtick.
Yeah. It just I realize that I'm the weird one here. I get it. Like they're one of the most popular and well-regarded heavy bands of the last 30 years. It just does nothing for me.
That's fine.
So.
Yeah, you should at least check out. I think he's fucking cool and based. And check out have you seen the episode of him with Anthony Bourdain?
No.
Yo, good episode of that show whose name I'm forgetting. I think Serge Tankian. If you don't like his music, you gotta at least enjoy his politics. He's a cool guy, I think.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get him on the show.
I know. I know
I'm
very
trying to-
little about the man.
I
Yeah,
know
it's
he
fine.
could possibly be listening to this episode, and I'm just saying, Serge, come on the show, and we'll get Niall to check out a System of a Down album.
Hey, maybe you'll do it live on the show. So reports of this creature vary in size between 15 and up to sometimes 82 feet long, with skin that is covered in scales that are either dark brown, moss green, or deep blue, depending on the sighting. On top of his serpent-like body is said to be a head that resembles, depending on the sighting, a snake, a horse, or even a goat. It has long ears and horns that adorn the head. So all of these things coalesce into making people think that it is basically a large, as this is what I read, a large chimera type lake dragon.
Okay.
So that's go ahead and go with that. Now, here's where we're going to take a little bit of a departure into the actual history of this thing, because when you start to when you start to peel the layers of the onion, you find at its core that the Ogopogo is kind of a misattribution and bastardization of Native American, or in this case, First Nations people's folklore.
Sure. It wouldn't be a cryptid episode without a little bit of that.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that here for just a second. So there are a native population that lives in this area around Lake Okanaga, and they have a belief system that includes a creature or spirit known as Nyahatik, I believe is the name of it. And it is this is, in most cases, it's seen as a spirit, but in certain instances, it does have a physical form that is kind of serpent-like. And it is known as the, quote, snake in the lake is what it translates to. It's not really a monster. So this is from, a lot of this comes from an article where they interviewed a guy named Pat Raphael, who's of the West Bank First Nation, who is a member of the larger Okanagan or Syilx Nation Alliance. So this is an actual person that would know what they're talking about, who was talking about this creature or this spirit is actually the sacred spirit of the lake Okanagan, and it is effectively, he literally, this quote really got me. When talking about Ogopogo, he said the guy, one of the people that was on this tour that they were interviewing, joked, "It's not Ogopogo. What are you, colonized?"
What?
Because how this came to be is that the native populations were interacting with the white people settling in Canada, and they were talking about giving offerings to the spirit of the lake, getting they would have animals on the boats that for sacrifice or whatever to kind of appease the spirits and give offerings to them and everything. And there were like rituals that went with crossing this lake. And the people that were settling there started to misinterpret that as there's a monster in the lake.
Okay.
Not just like they're giving thanks and honoring this spirit, but there's an actual physical evil thing that will try to eat you if you go across this lake. And that led to this more, that led to this kind of offshoot where it stopped being this Nyahatik and became what is now Ogopogo.
It's sort of a kangaroo situation almost, right? Where the native population was, I think it's not the same, but isn't that how kangaroo came about? That native people were like telling colonizers like, hey, they were telling them something else, but they thought that they were referring to the creature kangaroo. Yeah. And so the name kangaroo stuck for it. I realize it's a little. I'm pretty sure. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's how that name came about.
It's similar, similar
vibe,
colonialism, people. Yeah. So this all kind of took place when European fur traders first came into the valley in 1809. So when they started to clash with the local populace, the missionaries started to try to like demonize the local belief systems because, of course they want everyone to be Christian.
Yeah.
And that led to, there's this evil beast in Okanagan Lake that will kill you if you don't have like animals to ward it off on your boat. And then over time, that has turned into the lovable mascot Augie of Lake Okanagan Lake.
That's so, it actually sit and think about how ridiculous that is. Right?
Yeah.
How much it's transformed from what it actually was. And I wonder, is it a miracle that how do you untangle that as a historian? How do you realize, how do you make the realization that like, oh my God, these people were like way off in understanding what was being said to them?
It is both complicated in that it's Ogopogo is like now has celebrations and shit surrounding it and people that are actively interested in it to this day. But also like, if you just like let the people who actually know what they're talking about lead the discussion on the air on the topic, it would get settled pretty quickly. We never actually give these native populations the opportunity to set the record straight in a big enough or public enough way to kill the SEO of a cute monster in the lake,
Yeah. I had people actually recently asking me what the hell's a skinwalker. And I didn't really know how to answer or whether I even should give a proper answer. And I just kind of said it's a Native American thing that's been sort of taken. It's
colonialism, the monster, is what is like, it really is, really that. And like Rougarou are both like super fucking, taken over.
And it further complicates things just that Ogopogo is a thing, now like I'm not saying it's a legitimate thing necessarily, but Ogopogo, the being in the cultural consensus, is a thing now. So there's a lot of layers that you'd have to contend with. It's always weird when it comes to these beloved cryptids that have celebration days surrounding them and stuff and festivals or whatever. It's interesting.
So for the rest of the episode, we're going to be talking about the cryptid Ogopogo, not the actual belief, the actual spirit Nyahatik. So take all of that with a grain of salt. The first modern sighting, which I did like the site that I was looking at for this, literally listed as 1873, the first recorded sighting by a Caucasian.
Okay.
So that was by Mrs. Susan Allison, a pioneer and author in British Columbia, near her home Sunnyside Ranch, which is now the location. If you want to go look it up, there's a winery there named Quail's Gate. So she saw a snake-like creature, which was going through the water, kind of dipping. It was that the standard sighting of you see the humps coming up over the water and moving around for a little bit and then diving back underneath. So it's only really notable in the fact that it's the first documented sighting in the lake of the modern era. We then get later. There was a strange carcass found near a place called Rattlesnake Island, which is nearby, in 1914. So this carcass weighed in at 400 pounds and was between 5 and 6 feet long. It was bluish gray in color and had flippers and a tail. People very quickly took to calling this the carcass of an Ogopogo, or most likely there's a whole offshoot of the Ogopogo called Ogopups, which are smaller forms of the Ogopogo, or maybe children of the Ogopogo, depending on who you ask. So
you mean to tell me that the Ogopogo has a Muppet Babies equivalent? Yes. That's incredible.
And they're called the Ogopups, which I think is fucking hilarious. So, people thought that this was the creature. However, it seemed to pretty quickly, people who actually knew shit about animals realized that was a manatee carcass. But I didn't find actual information on how a manatee carcass got to Rattlesnake Island. I didn't. That was the weird thing, is why the fuck was there a manatee carcass there?
Sure, yeah. It sucks though too, because manatee, that makes perfect sense. Why are manatees the most murderable sea creatures of all time? What's up with that? Manatees in our world they're the dogs of the ocean and rivers,
the deep,
and the lakes.
Yeah, the dogs of the deep.
The dogs of the deep.
They're just magnetized for boat propellers, I think. They really just fucking lays about in propeller range.
That's true. God, the dogs of the deep also, I gotta say, one of my least favorite Dark Souls bosses. Those guys sucked.
Here's the thing. I think Dogs of the Deep with a manatee is a good t-shirt design.
Ooh,
we can do
I like
that
idea.
Then comes the 1926 sighting by, quote, 30 carloads of people, as we talked about previously. Then in 1947, a number of boaters all saw the creature at the same time. So this thing has a tendency to be seen by groups of people at a time. There's a witness named Mr. Cray who gave the following description. It had a long, sinuous body, 30 feet in length, consisting of about 5 undulations, apparently separated from each other by about a 2-foot space, in which that part of undulations would have been underwater. There appeared to be a forked tail, of which only one half came above the water. From time to time, the whole thing submerged and came up again. So this one is weird, because it's a bunch of spaced humps with a bunch of it underwater. It's a real iceberg of a sighting, because so much of the creature is underwater here. But we got half of a tail, 5 humps, 30 feet in length.
My humps, my lovely serpentine humps.
Yeah. So the next sighting that I have here is from 1959, when people by the names Mr. and Mrs. R.H. Miller and Mr. and Mrs. Pat Martin reported seeing a, quote, tremendous creature with a snake-like head and a blunt nose swimming some 250 feet behind their motorboat. They watched the unknown animal for approximately 3 minutes before it submerged. Then there are continued sightings. I literally, you can find sightings as recently as June of 2024. I saw someone saying they saw that sighting specifically cites a long snake in the water.
I was just about to say, are we sure these aren't just fucking snakes people are seeing?
I'm not.
There's Rattlesnake Island is right there, apparently.
Yeah.
And
it's right there.
It sounds like we're talking about snakes, and a snake seems like one of those animals that, for people with weaker mindsets, I'll say it, are more prone to be afraid of snakes. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that amplifies the experience of having a sighting of one. Maybe, I don't know. It could also just be a giant fucked up dragon Ogopogo creature. Like I can't rule that out, but I'm just saying there is a snake island right there apparently. So I don't know.
Yeah. So there have been look, there are more sightings. We might mention a little bit about them as we go forward, but because of what you're saying, I want to talk a bit about some investigations into said sightings over the years.
Can I really quick? I just want to say I break for snakes. I snakes. If there is one snake fan left in the world, it's me. If there are no snakes fans in the world, I'm dead.
Fair enough.
So I love snakes. They're cute.
I don't have. Snakes are one of those things that I could take or leave. I don't have a lot of strong opinions on them. I think they're cool when I see them at museums. That's about it.
My upbringing is snakes in museums, like loose, like running around, or
no, like I guess not museums. I guess like at zoos, animal museums.
An animal museum. I was raised with a whimsy and wonder for wildlife, and snakes are all a part of that, and they're kind of cool, kind of cute. Yeah, and that's
fair.
I'm going bat for snakes. Anyways, go ahead.
So, as we'd like to call it, Ogopogo mania peaked in approximately the 1980s when the region's tourism association offered a $1 million reward for any proof of the creature's existence.
Wait, what year is this?
In the 1980s.
Okay.
And around the same time, Greenpeace came forward and named it an endangered species, demanding that the Ogopogo would only be captured on film and not hurt or harmed in the flesh. This led to various other, TV shows of the era In Search of and Unsolved Mysteries reporting on the Ogopogo. Over its history, approximately 200 eyewitness accounts in total have been counted about the Ogopogo. And that led to various investigations by scientists trying to look into these things. Notably, in 1991, an underwater expeditions was sent out into Lake Okanagan with a remotely operated vehicle and a miniature submarine. They probed the depth as deep as 840 feet into the deepest parts of the lake. However, they did not find any evidence of Ogopogo. This led to then, in 2005, National Geographic TV show Is It Real? Did an episode on the Ogopogo, where acclaimed cryptozoologist Benjamin Radford, Joe Nickel, and John Kirk analyzed footage of the creature, ultimately concluding that the images were not showing any sort of monster. But then, finally, there have also been various sonar images taken by a couple different people, but the big one is a Japanese expedition to the lake in the year 2000, where their sonar images showed a 12-meter long object in the lake that was unidentified. So this is the thing that a lot of people will point to as the most kind of evidence for the creature, is this kind of shape, the 12-meter long shape on a Japanese sonar expedition. Whereas, like, there's also a whole thing in the late 1800s where a vertebrate bone was found near the lake that was thought to be from a whale. But when they went to test it for DNA or kind of like what kind of not DNA, they didn't know about DNA in the 1800s. When it was went to be tested to see what type of whale it came from, the bone was then disappeared. No one knows exactly where it went. So people kind of cite these things as evidence that something weird is going on. But the thing that I think is very fun is in 1989, under the law of the British Columbian Wildlife Act, Ogopogo has been deemed illegal to hunt or disturb as a species. So officially, even if you see this thing, don't disturb the Ogopogo.
You know what? I appreciate them taking a stance on that, because there are way too many stories of cryptids where people are just like, I'm going to shoot that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Bigfoot supposedly travel around this parts. I better get out my rifle and take him out. Only pull out that rifle if you're going to take Bigfoot out for a nice, fun afternoon of skeet shooting. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're gonna just recreationally
Go on the
yeah.
range with Bigfoot. That's fine. I give you that permission. I don't know if do they use rifles for skeet shooting? Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah.
stop trying to shoot these poor cryptids.
Yeah.
So I support this this law making it illegal to hunt Ogopogo, who's almost definitely not real, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
So do you want some understanding of what people think this thing is?
I kind of do. I'm still a little attached to the fact that whale bones went missing, but it was the 19th century. Shit went missing all the time. People don't know where anything is at that point in time. We only recently made it easier to like remember where stuff is and like keep them like drawers. When did we come up with that?
Really, ever since the pizza tracker, we've had a much better handle on where things are at any given time. So,
exactly.
Thank you, Domino's, for your service.
Thank you, Domino's, for inventing the pizza tracker. We've been able to extrapolate that to things like whale bones, and it's been a lot easier to track them.
Yep. So, over the course of the ages, cryptozoologists have tried to look into various evidence. There's various photographs and even some video footage that is supposedly this creature. One of the most famous is what's referred to as the Folden footage. And that one is supposedly just beavers that are like being misattributed. So
how do
like
you miss
beavers playing in the water are, you know how it was like humps with various
okay, so
like,
maybe the backs of
it's
the beavers
multiple beavers cresting over the water in kind of a line. And however, there's also another one called the Holes video, which is more recent. This one is thought to be some logs, and why it's thought to be some logs is this area around Lake Okanagan is very, very kind of inundated with the logging industry, with the timber industry. So it's not rare for people to cut down trees and then float the logs down this lake and a nearby river. And people think that a lot of times various sightings are people seeing that in kind of, conditions where there's like waves or whatever. And the logs are kind of obscured, or there are couples floating side by side and people mistake it as a large creature. So a lot of these things, people think that a lot of these sightings are just logs.
Now here's the real question. Is this the HOLES video? Holes, like, are they
No.
do they call it the Holes video because, maybe Ogopogo's got their whole shit out in this footage, or at least people, that's what they see. But maybe people also see what they want to see, and they want to see Ogopogo whole.
No, in this case, it's unfortunately HULS,
That's disappointing.
named after the person that took the photos, took the video. But that's I wish it was the
in the
Holes
future.
footage.
I'm gonna request that Ogopogo show whole.
Yeah,
So
I think that's honestly the best way to go.
thank you.
Yeah, so there are like, this Ogopogo has been around long enough and popular enough and known enough that there are a bunch of sightings, a bunch of supposed photos, and so many of them are just like a weird little bump on the lake that doesn't have any, like, they're not satisfying.
Not quite a surgeon's photo.
Yeah. So much like Ponik, supposedly also there's underground caves near Rattlesnake Island and Lake Okanagan. And so people think that, because the reason we're not finding Ogopogo is because it's hanging out in these underwater caves. So that's very similar. Here's actually, here's a thing about that I think is interesting. The various footage. Someone, an FBI video specialist in 2005 named Grant Fredericks, actually looked into some of the footage from a 1992 piece of footage about this creature, and he pretty much immediately realized that it was quote, it was very consistent with debris from a fallen tree in the water, noting that it, quote, very slowly bobs up and down. And in the same footage, there's a water skier that's kind of going by in the background, and the, quote, creature did nothing to react to the fact that there was a human going around.
You know, I may have seen this footage actually. Now that you're describing it.
So it's from the footage was from 1992. A guy named Paul Damara videotaped it, and it's people who know how to analyze video have looked at it and been like, that's just shit that fell off a tree. So I'm that one's pretty conclusive overall.
Yeah, but are you gonna take what an FBI guy says to you at face value? Doesn't it make more sense? The FBI guy's he's trying to cover up the Ogopogo truth. We all know that.
Yeah. And we here at It Gets Weird are Ogopogo truthers.
That's right.
It's actually a plesiosaur, or no, sorry, it's a basilosaur is what the specific creature, Basilosaurus, that's what it is. It's a sort of primitive serpentine whale. And that is one of the things that people think, if you believe in the Ogopogo, it's either a Basilosaurus or a plesiosaur. But the Basilosaurus is a little more fun because plesiosaurs are more common. So, in reality, it's probably just logs and beavers.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. Regardless, here It Gets Weird, from 9/11 to Ogopogo, in alphabetically, we are truthers.
Yeah.
Anything past O, we don't fuck with.
Oh, I forgot here. The original song that gave the thing its name, this is just a funny thing. It's from 1924. It was known as the Ogopogo : the Funny Foxtrot. So I wanted that on record.
And
so
this
the
is,
Funny Foxtrot is...
This is written by a fan of like newspaper comics, like newspaper comic strips?
I guess, yeah.
Like a big Foxtrot fan?
I was a big Foxtrot fan as a kid. I had like multiple collections of Foxtrot comics, which in retrospect, not the funniest comic out there, but some of it was pretty funny.
Yeah. What was the kid's name? The little nerd ass kid who like he was like mean to his sister and he got beat up at school or whatever.
Yeah, and his older brother was a dumb jock. And I honestly, Ethan. I don't know. I forget his name. We'll go with that.
I was a
for now.
Get Fuzzy guy.
Oh, I read Get Fuzzy
Get
too.
Fuzzy.
I was big on newspaper comic strips at one point in my childhood.
Same.
I collected like Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, Foxtrot, Get Fuzzy, Dilbert.
Well, Calvin and Hobbes and Get
unfortunately,
Fuzzy, those are just good. those are just actually good.
Can't say the same about Dilbert.
No, not really.
I do not know for the life of me why Dilbert was like my favorite comic.
We've talked
long
about
before
this.
I'd ever worked in an office. I was a child that did not. Why?
You have said this shit about how like I wanted to be an adult when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That you wanted to grow up, and you know I can kind of understand where that's coming from. Especially if you're a strongly independent thinker like yourself. I did want to add that the more time goes on, the more Scott Adams is creating a part 2 episode for himself on here.
Oh, I mean, honestly, this not to go off on a morbid note here, but
did he kill himself?
They're probably no.
Oh, okay.
But it seems like the next episode will happen when he dies relatively soon.
Fuck! What did I miss? Did he start some sort of crazy diet or?
No, I think he.
Oh boy!
I think he got. I don't remember the full details of it, but he recently got some illness that he was trying to cure with like alternative medicine, and had to like be about the fact that it was like
didn't know that. That's Jesus fucking Christ. This is what I'm saying though. Okay, for people who don't know,
we'll jump in. We'll jump back into Scott Adams.
I did an episode about Scott Adams and his very weird conspiracy crap that he's been doing for years now. I don't even, that episode is like pre-COVID. That episode's like 2018, 2019. It's so long ago now. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff like the Dill Burrito. But as the years go by, it keeps getting worse.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I didn't know about that. I just knew he.
So go. You don't have your RSS feed alerts set up for new Scott Adams stories.
You want your story to peak with making a an erotic hypnotism blog. Like that's where your story should basically peak and then interest wanes. But he just keeps doing it.
He will not be silenced.
So wow. Scott Adams update. Maybe we'll just do a Scott Adams update corner.
Yeah, there we go.
Start checking in.
This little segment
Although,
on podcast.
if it's as grim as you say it is, that might not end greatly.
Well, look, we'll see. Wow. Okay. So let's leave morbid ex comic artists behind. And work
is
on
this a big question?
Big question.
Now, I wanted to throw out there that we do have something, an animal related big question from Jacob in the email. It's not specifically related to this, but it is about animals.
Throw it out
and
here
it's
and let's see what we can
sufficiently
do with
strange.
it.
So let's.
I might tweak it slightly if needed, but we'll go with that.
So here's what Jacob said. If you had the power to absorb people's or animals' life force / powers, what physical action would be your means of absorption? So, for example, how Kirby sucks them into their mouth, or Rogue from X-Men who just touches them. I'll go for, and here's Jacob's answer. Okay, Jacob says, "I'll go first, smelling them."
So it's kind of an olfactory input.
Take a big whiff. You waft it. I only say this because I feel people's essences / life force would probably have their own unique smell to them. Sniff, sniff. Do I detect notes of cinnamon? Of course, you'd be super freaking creepy though. Stop smelling me, guy. So yeah, there's pros and cons there. One, you get to know the unique smells of people's essences. The con, everybody thinks you're a weird sniff freak. And that can be difficult.
You get to really take a long sniff of because like I feel like it can't be instant there. You can't just do like a little and have it like immediately come in. Like it's got to be a protracted sniff.
Big sniff. Can you confirm for the listeners
big sniff
at
hours.
Home that one of me and Garrett's recurring bits is wafting and how funny we find
that is 100% true. There's a lot of like planting your feet and leaning forward a little bit with your nose out and like
getting
doing
a big
the like
whiff.
wafting motion to get the like scent towards your nose.
Yeah.
That is a long running
We've
bit
been
with
doing
Kyle
that
and
for
Garrett,
a while.
That much like a lot of their bits, where did it come from? Who fucking
Doesn't
knows?
matter.
But it's funny.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So sniffing, that's an interesting. Do we want to dive in on this big?
Yeah, I think
question?
we'll because like I think I like because we can talk about like what cryptid because I like cryptids have a lot of powers and stuff. So I feel like I would want like the scary vision of like Mothman where you kind of like you can freeze people with your eyes and shit. So I think that mine would be somewhat totemic in that like I have to like ingest something that is of their essence, like a feather or a scale or fucking whatever. So like I have to like I because like I feel like there has to be some tactile thing coming into this for me because like you can try to like if I were a Marvel writer who 10 years after introducing a character then had to like explain how the power worked. You think of like the DNA is in all things, and so you're like taking some small portion of the code of that being and ingesting it gives you some kind of access to their specific physiology.
You're reminding me of the guy in the X-Files who I think he ate people's livers, and it would extend his life, I think. So maybe you're like, I mean, I guess it's kind of gruesome though, because then you're gonna have to cut out the livers of all these beasts.
I mean, I can do it with like something a lot less impactful. I don't have to kill the people.
Oh, okay.
To do it. I don't want to kill things. I don't want to kill things. I just want to like to hop between fucking Nessie and Mothman, just kind of taking on the affects as I need them.
Sure, I can understand that. Yeah, you don't want to compromise them to a permanent end. But that is.
I don't want to get arrested in British Columbia for trying to like
murder Ogopogo. That's illegal. We've established that. I mean, my mind instantly went to X-Files, and the other one that jumped into my brain is the I can't remember if they're like an alien or something, but there's the person who can take on the identities of people that they have sex with. And we've sort of established how we, there's a talked about like going around and banging every cryptid around the world, sex tourism with cryptids. That was my first impulse, is just like, yeah, I fuck them and I get their powers. But maybe that's a little, I'm pushing, that's a little too far. So I kind of think what I would actually want, like real answer, not a bit where I'm fucking cryptids or whatever. I want to Vulcan mind meld people. I want to just like grab their head or the back of their neck and just suck their essence out like that through my fingertips, like a vampiric touch. That's kind of what I because like, okay, first of all, it's cool. I could like do a bit at a party, be like, oh, I can do the Vulcan mind meld, and then I actually just like become Garrett for a second, and people are like, holy shit, that's a crazy party trick. But then also, I look like some sort of dark sorcerer, which, if I could pick from all the fantasy jobs to have, a dark sorcerer is up there, like a sorcerer who wields nefarious magics. And, that would be really cool for me. So, yeah, the idea of just like, ooh, I grab you and I just sap it through my fingertips, and your energy leaves your body and enters mine. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
I want to be a calculator with my B slot as summoner, because that's like one of the most powerful combos.
Reveling in the news that dropped recently, huh?
Big news for me.
I'm excited.
For all you Final Fantasy Tactics heads out there,
that's gonna be fun.
I'm going to play the shit out of that.
Absolutely,
I'm going to play Final Fantasy Tactics for like the 10th time on the PS5.
Hell yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so I dark sorcery for me, and for you, sort of a totem barbarian.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, kind of ingesting the essence. Yeah,
cool.
I think that works.
I love that for us. So it sounds like you and I are venturing out into do some dungeon crawling after explaining all that.
Yeah, we're gonna go out and run the dungeon and shit, and it'll be fantastic. Run the dungeon, slay the spire, all those roguelikes. All right. Well, I guess that will bring us to some business, right?
Yeah.
All right. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
Twitch.tv/ItGetsWeird. Colin and I are contractually obligated to play Elden Ring Night Rain right now. So Pokemon's taking a backseat. It's not over. We're going to get back to that. But Night Rain is where we're at right now. So if you want to see me and Colin play that, come check us out on Twitch. We're on Blue Sky at It Gets Weird, trying to escape the gravitational pull of Twitter as much as we can. So give us a follow on Blue Sky. Email us. If you want your email read on the show, check this out. itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. It's free to send us an email at that address. Just let us know how we should address you. Give us a cool story or something, and we might read it on the show. So please hit us up at our email. We love hearing from you. But if you really want to support us, if you want to give us your undying support, patreon.com/itgetsweird. You're going to get all kinds of awesome shit here. We have a $1 tier. The $1 tier is just a tip jar, basically. You're saying, hey, thanks for doing what you do. Here's $1. But at the $2 tier and the $5 tier, you get bonus content. At $2, you get It Gets Weird TV, where Niall and I just started X-Files Season 3. We're having a lot of fun. We're going to discuss the X-Files and get deep into the lore and all the Monster of the Week episodes. But the most bang for your buck is at the $5 tier, where we also have the World of Weird, where Niall and I talk about whatever the hell we want. It comes out in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. And like I said, I think I got to bring a topic for the first time that's totally... I want to talk to you about Ken Penders, because I think you'll be very entertained by the story.
Yeah, I'm in.
So if you want to hear that, that's going to be at the $5 tier. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show on Fridays instead of Sunday on your own private Patreon feed. And you get access to the Discord, where we're hanging out, chatting with all our listeners directly about Bigfoot, UFOs, Nessie, whatever the fuck you want, ghosts, fake medicine. We talk about all kinds of stuff there. So please check it out. Please donate. We really appreciate it if you can. But if you can't donate, the least you could do is you could tell somebody in your life, tell some friends, advertise the show for us. So if you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for joining us on this Canadian expedition of aquatic cryptids. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the support you've given us. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.